So, hello everybody. Today is the 21st of May 2017, and we're all in TeamSpeak today, not for our usual update session, but for a get-together to talk about Jacque Fresco, who died this week. And we thought it would be a nice idea if we just talked about how this might affect us or not affect us as we move forward with the work that we're doing, with the collaboration that we're doing. But I really would hate this to be a sad event. I think we should celebrate Jacque's life rather than be sad, you know what I mean? And use the sadness, turn it into, as he would say, turn the emotions into action patterns. We can talk about how to do that as well, if you like. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. Sasha would perhaps like to say something.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah. I mean, it's I didn't really have anything formal here to prepare. I did ask Roxanne if she's going to be able to join us, and maybe she's going to have a few words later on. I don't know, because we do have Carl visiting here at the moment. I don't know if some of you probably know who Carl is, the person in the old 70s and 80s lectures that has a German accent. You probably heard him from those lectures. He's still around. He's still been in contact with Jacque and Roxanne, and he does come around periodically. Well, what else to say? We kind of knew that this was coming. We didn't know when. It was, I guess, not through too much suffering that it happened. It was quite quickly, basically in the last four or 5 days. This last Saturday, meaning the Saturday 7-8 days ago, he was still here at the tour, still doing his regular lecture, and so as you know, to the last possible time, he was still active to the best of his abilities. Roxanne, I just did a little intro, and that's pretty much it. I didn't say much yet. So if you have anything that you want to start off with, I might as well just give you the microphone right away.
No, I don't know what the intro was. I just wanted to say hello to everyone, and how much I appreciate your help and all the work you're all doing. I think now more than ever, we need to work harder, if that's possible. I mean, that's the way I feel. So that's about it. Any questions from anybody?
Does anybody have any questions for Roxanne? We have a couple of things that we want to touch on, but if anybody has anything, go ahead.
I do.
Go ahead, Julio. Try to speak up.
Okay, yeah, I just was curious into in what way did Jacque donate his body to science, if that's not too much to ask?
In what way? There's an organization, well, many years ago, he signed up for donating his body, an organ donator, and he had it on his driver's license. But I don't know exactly. I asked him if he was too old or to do that, and they study it in many different ways. He had Parkinson's, so they study that. And I don't know all that they will be doing, but they were very grateful to have the body, and they said it would be very helpful. So that's good enough for me. I don't know if they knew everything it would go toward.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Who is? Sorry, I had to turn the air conditioning off here. Somebody else wanted to ask something.
Yep. For Roxanne, now that the time dedicated to take care of Jacque, is you have more time now. I was wondering if some plans that were on waiting to be implemented are going to be implemented now. Can we expect other things to come into fruition now that you may have more time?
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of doing both at the same time, which was always a struggle because as Jacque got older, he wanted me there right next to him most of the time. And I couldn't not do Venus Project stuff too. So yes, we are working on, in fact, we were wondering whether we should announce it at this time, but we decided not to. We're working on another project. We're working on a business proposal for something that we've been kind of brainstorming with, and I'm going to be working on a design for something, and we will. I hate to mention stuff before it's done. I used to do that in the past. People get excited. Sometimes they couldn't go through with it, but yes, we are working on other things. We want to, if we can't do a large city, we want to maybe try other things. So we're working on things, and I guess when it's the right time, we will announce it. I'm sure we will, but I don't think right now is, but yes, we want to go forward however we can.
Yeah, and maybe in addition to, Roxanne has had quite some time was invested in the organization, as you know, as in reorganizing some of the teams with Borislow and with other people included. And that will continue, and we're going to try to get teams better organized, have better or more procedural systems and more teams in general, and that's going to be added to the website as they come out. So that was kind of an important
Right,
part.
that's a huge thing, and Bo really did a lot of that, and he's still working on it with other people's help. But that will be going up on the internet probably in hopefully 2 or 3 weeks. Everything takes a long time because everybody's a volunteer, so they have other things they need to do to feed themselves. But yeah, that's going up. And also, I'll just do an update that we haven't done an update on the movie, but the movie script, as you probably know, we've gone through lots and lots of movie scripts. We have even hired, quote, professional people that didn't work out at all because they didn't know much about this direction, and there's no way you can fill them in a short period of time. It just ends up a script about old values. And so we are now working with Nate Dinwiddie on the script, and he has moved here, and so we're working pretty full time together. Nate's doing the majority of it, and so we've decided that we're formatting it not so much in a movie, but in kind of a series, TV series type of thing, because we feel there are more options now for that. And we also feel we can get more information out there on all sorts of topics within each series. So that I haven't really announced, but I didn't want to do that until the script was finished. So I don't want to put any dates to it, but we make our own dates, and when it is finished, we'll make all those announcements, and we'll see what we can do. Been trying to gather people who can help in the field as well along the way.
I think maybe we could do some of the recruiting work. If we know quite a lot of people between all of us. From many different countries, and maybe we could help if you say the qualifications you need for these projects.
Yeah, I think Mauricio, you're probably talking about all the projects that Roxanne mentioned. That if we need certain people with certain credentials, expertise, and things like that we can put the word out. If that's what.
We'll make those announcements as to what we need when. We really have to approach this maybe in different ways, not just putting out announcements and trying to get anybody to reach anybody. We're going about it. We really need to go about those particular projects in strategic ways. So, you know, we haven't even started that yet. We'll get to that first. In terms of the series, the script has to be done, and unless you know somebody specifically in the field who works in the field that's pretty high up in decision making in different venues like Netflix or Amazon, then you know, I don't know what you can do unless you are in marketing or, you know, but we'll approach that when it comes, and we'll see at what time, whether we need a group of people who can tackle that, or whether we need to even hire somebody who's in that field. That may be better. I don't know.
Okay, well, if we go, there's people that got questions here in the chat. So Ludus was the first one that says that he's got a question. So Ludus, go ahead.
Thanks. Let's see. Well, I don't know. To me, this is the first question I would actually like to know. Roxanne, yes, you have been with Fresco for a very, very long time, and hence your values would have changed inevitably. However, as he stated, we all have primordial slime. I'm just curious, genuinely, how are you feeling, you know, with all that's going on?
How am I feeling? Well, you know, for the last couple of years, Jacque was very sick. And I was taking more and more over with what he did. From the tours to dealing with people, from doing the interviews that he was asked to do. If I could have gone and done the lectures that he was asked to do, I would have. You know, you feel a huge range of things that you can't help, but the best thing, what I'm geared toward, is to just stick with the Venus Project. And that's what I've always done. So, and I see nothing out there that gives answers, and nothing worth working toward. And so in a lot of ways, I'm relieved that I have the time. It's really a dual thing when you're taking care of somebody, and it does restrict you a lot. So in that way, I feel free to do a lot of things. And Jacque was not the same person when he died as when I met him. So, you know, obviously, it's just a strange experience, because Parkinson's is a form of Alzheimer's. And, you know, sometimes Jacque was there and sometimes he wasn't. So all that plays a toll. So now I can only say, like Jacque says, just, you know, just keep working at the Venus Project, with the Venus Project, just work toward that. And to me, that solves a lot of things. Even when Jacque was alive and active, and when I couldn't work in this direction just because of my outside work to get funds for this, I would feel kind of depressed and morbid and dead until I got a few weekends to be able to work on this. It always made me feel alive, and but that's me, so I don't know how others feel in regards to that.
All right. Well, all I can say is thank you for the answer.
Thank you, Roxanne. I just wanted to say I feel the same. I feel the same alive feeling when I work on this.
Yeah, I think we mentioned before that that, you know, Jacque would definitely not want us to be saddened too much and mope around and be depressed. I think he is definitely the person that would want to turn that into a, you know, into an action pattern, like we said before, and just try to do, you know, do his best, and now our best, I guess. There's another question here, Roxanne. Just Lucas would like to know how it was the last days, basically, and if it's I guess we already mentioned a little bit about
Did we announce we broke with her?
No, I don't think we did.
Yeah.
But there's going to be.
Jacque was pretty sick the last few days, and he was in a lot of pain. So, I just keep remembering that it really was time, and just to see his pain relieved was a relief as well, because that was about the hardest thing to watch.
Yeah, I guess I agree with that too. Yeah.
Gut wrenching.
Yeah.
I lost it every time I saw him that way.
Yeah. Pageman has another thing. Go ahead, Pageman.
So guys, can you hear me? Is the sound quality good? I just need to confirm that.
Can't hear you too well.
Yeah, we still can't hear you too well, but try and scream and we'll see if we can pick you up.
If I talk like this, is this better?
Okay, that's better. Yeah, that's how you should.
I would like to, Roxanne, I've done a lot of transcribing from the old lectures, and I would like to read 2 things from them. Is that okay?
That from Theo, and I got that from Nate. Yes, and in fact, when Theo wrote it, I thought it was you saying, and I was saying, no, that Jacque said these things. But yes, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. This is a part where Jacque is talking about his thoughts about funeral, and when I heard it the first time, it really stuck with me. I think I did it for maybe 1 year ago, and I spent the whole day looking for it. So this is his thoughts about funeral, and he starts off like this. He says, I have never gone to a funeral in my life. I never went to my father's funeral, my sister's husband, my son's funeral. I don't go to funerals because I remember people as I knew them, going over some 150 pounds of meat. I don't want to see a guy lying there. It doesn't mean anything. I want to remember them as I knew them. And I don't want anybody to come to my funeral. If I'm run over by a Mack truck, send me to the nearest hospital. I don't want any fluid, no grave, no sign, nothing, because it doesn't mean anything to me. Once you're out, you're out. You remember what you knew about the person, and they always remain alive in your head. And a person says to him, that's the bad part. And he replies, that's not the bad part, because it was better that you knew that person than never having known them. I'm glad that I have known everybody I have known that I have ever liked. And if they die, we miss them, but we remember things with them. Pleasant things, some unpleasant things, but we do remember that. The fact that we had that experience. And I would like to just read one more, which I feel is relevant. And they were talking about depression, and usually Jacque doesn't talk about his personal thoughts, and he starts off like this. He says, I'm going to just talk about myself. I never thought about terms of suicide ever. I always felt that life was glorious, fascinating, wonderful, and interesting, always, meaning 99.99% of the time, because you get involved in things and you can enjoy many more things if you think that way. That means that you're less dependent. Sorry, guys.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry, I can't finish that. I'm gonna put it on the Skype chat.
Yeah.
Well, Jacque always used a kid saying, no funerals, just feed them to the alligators or flush them down the toilet.
Yeah, I think that's quintessential Jacque Fresco, what you just read there. I think that's pretty much his.
And he always said that if you really admired somebody, try and get everything you can from them, which means just learn everything you can from them. And he left so much behind that there's so much to learn from. And, you know, I'm sure if you've listened to Jacque's classic lectures and you've listened to so many of them, and then you go back to listen to him again, it's like you're hearing him for the first time because you have more tools to think with and you put things together differently. So it's really an ongoing education. And we will be putting out more of the classic lectures. We have 20 of them, but we have that are out, but we have 600 of them that we're still working with. So if anybody wants to learn more about it and they want to help transcribe, like Pechman,
Yeah.
I don't know if I pronounced that right. We really appreciate all those that you did, Pechman. And you can learn more about it by helping to transcribe. So what we want to do with the transcriptions is have more text so we can do more educational material and have more on board here for academia. They always like text rather than audio. So we're doing a lot in that area as well.
Is it possible to take some of those quotes from the old lectures about people and passing away and like post it on the TVP Global and stuff? Because I think that was very moving, and a lot of people hear that Jacque has passed, and I think that would help people to get motivation even more.
Yes, we've already put it up on the quote board for people to make posters with, and I told Jen, you know, to post it on Facebook, just the text as well. So I don't know where it went to exactly.
Yeah. Well, right now we have the process that we have for things to come and get posted on TVP Global. It has to go through editorial. It has to go through the process. So that it's not kind of just haphazardly posted up and down. But yeah, that will happen. Additionally, there's going to be as far as if I don't know if we did talk about that maybe some kind of an extended announcement is going to come out in the coming weeks. Maybe we'll see. But anyway, yeah, I think it's definitely something that we'll try and also get people to you know, not just emote about things, but try and see if we can get people involved and
Right.
just do the things that we want to do.
That's the best way to honor Jacque, but you know, he wouldn't want you to do it to honor him. He would want you to do it because you feel that this is most important, and in order to have it happen, you've got to work at it. So yeah.
There's Ludus, I think, she says another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Damn it, sorry, mic was way up. Okay. With that, I'm just a curious dude, and honestly, I didn't expect that, Roxanne, you would be on. So obviously, this is a opportunity, which now I feel a bit like a jackal just tearing out a piece of meat, thinking that I'm gonna face starvation. So why not tear everything apart?
Go for it. That's great.
Really? Is that actually? Can that be accommodated?
Absolutely.
Fair enough. All right. Well then, I'm just curious. I am interested specifically in. I remember when I was in the Venus Project, when my friend and I visited you folks, and the one thing that definitely shook me to the core was when the receptionist at the, I don't know, you on your website recommend a specific stay, I don't know, hostel, a specific one close to your location.
Oh, Ramada, yeah.
That's the one, right? Thank you. And essentially we spoke, and oh, so did you go? You know, small talk, but it resulted in the receptionist saying, oh, it's really quite sad that he's going to take it to his grave, these ideas. And I immediately raised eyebrows. Like, what do you mean? Oh, well, several other people who with all kinds of business ideas come here and they say that they all reject them, you know. And so obviously then I went back and we had the interaction. And in fact, it turns out you said that a lot of people do come with ideas which do not at all pertain to proposals of the Venus Project. They pertain with building some megapolis or what have you, some sort of money thing.
I know we had some comments from them after a guy was very vocal who came here and he wanted Jacque's architecture to make a menorah You know what a menorah is?
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a candle holder for a certain Jewish holiday, and he was proposing, he was trying to do a city with in I don't know where it was exactly, but in Israel, somewhere in Israel, I don't know where exactly, but he had all the what are the religious guys in Jewish denomination, but he had
The rabbis.
Rabbis, thank you. He had many rabbis behind it, and he wanted Jacque to design a menorah city. And you know, we do get a lot of bizarre types of things like that. And he went back and complained to the people at the hotel there that, you know, to the effect that Jacque didn't really want to do this kind of thing and didn't want to follow through. And so, you know, I wouldn't really pay much attention to that kind of thing. We have rejected a lot of people that came to us and want to buy our architecture, and we even have it more and more now. But, you know, we have had people who came to us saying that they are going to build a new city. This is real, for real, in every state in the United States. And they were telling us they had all the top architects knocking at their doors to design it, but they wanted to come to us and use Jacque's cities. And what the cities were for are for, and she showed me this temple in India, is for the sect, this spiritual Indian sect, to move to the United States and start having more and more people join them. So I always tell people we're not selling architecture. That's not what the architecture was for. The design of the architecture is to help promote and build efficiently so everyone can be housed, fed, clothed, have medical care from birth to death, and have a relevant education. It goes along with the social direction. And, you know, if another group came along and said, we want to promote the Venus Project and we want to build one of your cities and you run it and you do what you want with it, that would be great. It's not going to the grave, as far as I'm concerned.
Sorry, Roxanne, sorry to interrupt, but maybe it's just my own verbosity. I didn't, in fact, get to the point. The point was, I understand you. I agree. Everything you just now said, I figured out later on after you and I had a very brief discussion about this, which makes sense, okay? They obviously want to pursue their value system to be reinforced by your seemingly streamlined designs, but they want to add it to their value systems, which is, it's fine. Again, capitalism just wants to reinforce itself. Why wouldn't it not? What I'm concerned about is, is this particular business proposal, I don't need details. What I'm simply asking is the core principle of it. Are you having to compromise, I think I'm asking.
Well, I think I'm telling you I'm not compromising. I'm not interested in handing over our architecture to the free enterprise system. The only way I would be involved with building the city, or there's no way I would give the architecture away or sell the architecture. The only way I would do it is if it's for perpetuating the Venus Project and a resource-based economy. Then I would work with somebody, but they would have to say that they're getting involved because they want to perpetuate the Venus Project, not that I am going to give somebody the architecture to perpetuate a irrelevant direction in this society. I don't have to compromise. I'd rather go to the grave with it not being done than compromise, because it's not what we've been working for all our lives.
Yeah, and additionally, it can have, I think we mentioned this already, it can have a negative effect if something like that were done by a different group and it wouldn't work, then that could have negative repercussions for what we're trying to do, because somebody would point to that and say, well, these guys tried it and it didn't work, so we're
Example communism.
Yeah, well, that's a broad thing, but yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people just point to sustainable communities or different things that break apart, and that's really not what we're trying to do. And then if somebody, you know, would try to do this on behalf of some kind of a resource-based economy project, and fail, then that would have negative repercussions for us, for the project, and
Yes.
so we wouldn't want to do that. So
That's kind of what happened with the Zeitgeist movement. We wanted to pull out because we didn't have much participation in it, yet they were using our materials and using the names, and we felt if it failed, we wouldn't have another chance. So we wanted to make sure we had all that in our control, and the architecture and everything else. So we felt we had a better chance of succeeding.
There's another question from Bobby in the US. Bobby, go ahead. Is your mic working? I think it was working before.
Oh, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So, what I want to add about the idea of selling the Venus project architecture for profit, yeah, that would probably bring in some revenue, but then it would just end up, the whole thing would end up as a fancy futuristic architecture project, and without any of the ethics of a resource-based economics, and that would hurt the project long term. As far as my question is, now with the departure of Jacque, will this have any negative effects on the project or not?
I can't answer that, but it doesn't really have any negative effects to me in terms of the direction and what we're trying to do. It doesn't change that. The ideas are there, and they're the most significant, and there are no answers out there. There are people dissecting what's going on today more so like he did in the past, earlier. They're beginning to realize a lot of things, but they don't have any answers. So it doesn't affect that at all. Jacque was not in a position to carry anything through in the last couple of years either, and we were still working at it. So I couldn't answer that, and I don't even consider that. I just feel it is the most valid, and people need to know about it, and we need to be able, it doesn't take convincing everybody, it just takes reaching the right people, and it might just take reaching one person that can initiate this and understand that this is a viable direction. So, I don't really think in those terms.
Yeah. Well,
Of
maybe.
course.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm cutting you guys off. But no. What I was kind of thinking about is that although he wasn't in the last years, he wasn't very active. He was still seen as the sort of like the figurehead. Now with that lost, would you then be taking over at least as like a keynote speaker and sort of like a figurehead and someone that we, people can associate as, I don't want to say position of leadership, but that would be it.
Well, there have still been invitations for speaking, and now I'm able to take them. I will be taking them. There was one that we did give to Theo, and I think I'll be doing it with him if I can. But yes, I'll be taking the speaking engagements, and people, even at the end, people were writing not just to Jacque, but to me, and like the interview on Futurist was directed toward me, and there were other interviews that are now being directed toward me, and I'm sure maybe more so since Jacque died. So I will be doing all I can. We do have a group that works with us. Many different people work with us on many different levels. So it's not just me carrying this. I can't work on websites. I'm not a good marketer. I'm not dealing with the POCs, There's a lot of people doing a lot of things. So I definitely can't do it alone, and neither could Jacque. So, yeah. Hopefully there are many more people who can do lectures. Sue did some great lectures. TEDx, and I don't know, I think maybe more people were trying to do that too. So there's a lot more people who are beginning to educate themselves or being helped with the education. And I always ask people if they want to go on to a position where they can do a lot of lecturing and do get more information so they can teach as well, then take the SEP course, Socio-Cyberneering Education Project. I encourage that so much. You know, once you've gone through the POC course, there's so much more to do, and the SEP course will enable you, and we need it desperately, to teach others. They'll take on the course and teach it to others. And once you take that course, you'll also be introduced to speaking and how to do the lectures and how to do writing, and it'll give you much more self-sufficiency to be able to lecture in this area.
I just wanted to step back a little bit to what Bobby's comment was, and just add that that, you know, the people that are going to be, let's say, emotionally affected by the fact that Jacque is not around anymore, and if they have some kind of reservations because of that, then I would conclude that their involvement is very emotional, because you know, this was never about, you know, Jacque's life per se. He was the person that put all these things together, but like Roxanne said, it's what we do with that and what we're going to continue to do with that is what's important, and I don't think that has really changed considerably from last week to this week.
No.
And we just have to continue to do that, and maybe with even more sense of urgency that it is up to us. Jacque is not going to save us on his own. He wasn't going to do that before, and he's not going to do it. You know, it's really up to us to harness what he's done so far, step on his shoulders and do.
But I would say that the guidance of the Venus Project is under me. I you know, would have the final say as to, you know, if we're going to build something, the architecture, be working with the architects. Yeah, a lot of the final decisions are me, because I have been working with Jacque for so long, and I think in a lot of ways I would be handing certain things over to those people who are more educated in certain fields, but the overall direction and you know, the final say with certain things would be up to me. Make it happen myself, you know, any more than Jacque could.
Definitely. And also, as far as what was said before about it dying, it's evident that, like, you know, nothing too bad is going to happen now with Jacque's departure, because, you know, evident by the amount of people that are currently right here, how many people around the world are in support of the project.
How many? No idea.
I mean, that's hard to say, but it's, you know, just being a supporter, whatever, how we define that, from the point of view of, let's say, just being just saying that, hey, I support the project and I would like to see it happen. That number is probably quite high. I mean, high relatively, but from the point of view of, well, how many of these people are actually here and active volunteers? I mean, not physically here, but active volunteers and participating in some way in some, you know, in any of the teams. That number is the number that we want to get higher. Really, that's, you know, that's the important thing. I think Gil from Brazil has something, another question. Go ahead.
Actually, I believe Leodas asked for a question prior to mine.
I did, but I really speak quite often, so maybe you want to go ahead and I'll go after you.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, I before my question, I just wanted to say that the one time that I went to Venus, and for some reason I was the only one there, and we managed to talk a lot back in 2014, and we managed to talk a lot with Jacque and Roxanne. I don't know if Roxanne remembers that or not, but it was quite special to have that amount of time to pick his brain and to pick Roxanne's brain and to go around and talk about a lot of different things. So I felt very fortunate about it. And my question is more objective one regarding next steps. I know you talked a little bit about some of the projects that are undergoing, some of the next steps regarding specific issues. So, but on the beginning, especially Sasha commented that there were some probable announcements. So I was curious about them. Um, what is happening now? What happens now, and stuff like that.
Well, I guess when the announcement comes out, you'll hear about it. We don't, like I said earlier, I had the urge to talk about the next step of the Venus project after Jacque died, but we decided it probably isn't a good idea because we didn't really want to announce it until a lot of things were more definite. So I think we'll wait for that instead of kind of a half-assed announcement of what we want to do, but we are working toward it, and you guys will hear about it.
Yeah. Well, there's been some suggestions from other people basically around the world too, and some of the people here in the States that maybe for some kind of an obituary type of thing, and that might bring some kind of an attention. So
well, obituaries usually just goes in the newspaper, and we wrote something, but if you write 5 lines, it's like $158. If it's more than 5 lines, it's $265. And in fact, right before I came over, we just read something. So, I don't know. I wasn't too interested in that until Henry Schlinger said, if you can get me an obituary soon, I can get it maybe in the Los Angeles newspaper. But then we looked up all the confinements and the prices, and it's just one more commercial venture. I think maybe it reaches more people on the website and on our Facebook than maybe a newspaper would, just one time and then been thrown out. And this is what I was thinking of right before I came over here. Is it worth putting a few $100s if we try to go to different newspapers, something like that, or spend it toward something else that might be more significant? I don't think Jacque would have cared about an obituary.
Yeah, he wasn't one for ceremonies and things like that for sure. But just from I guess now it's kind of more from the point of view of what reaches maybe people, and if there's some kind of significant potential for a, let's say, influential person or something like that to come into contact. But that's very hard to define. It's very hard to know what does that. But yeah, like Roxanne said before, there's we've had some, let's say, not very constructive outcomes when things were announced, but weren't ready to actually be implemented. So basically, we're trying to get things to the point where if something is announced, that everything is in place to support that announcement and for people to be able to immediately contribute to it, get involved, and donate whatever it's going to be, so that it's not something, referenced. This is something that's going to be going on in the future.
Yeah, we want to organize it more so and have a lot of things definite within it, and so it means a lot more. We're working on several things.
Clifton's question is really similar. Are there going to be any changes with TVP Global that we need to know about and to address the public? I guess just, you mean TVP Global as in the global organization and teams? I think we already kind of mentioned that with trying to get them better organized and structured better and put in place procedures and procedural
Right.
systems.
That had nothing to do with Jacque,
Yeah.
alive or dead.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that really that was kind of the plan, anyways. Like Roxanne said
Yeah.
from before. There's Julio. Ludus, you got the question from before we jumped over. Go ahead.
Social cyberengineering education program. I have applied for it a month ago. Essentially what I'm asking, would it be too much of a bothersome behavior if I pinged just to show that the interest is still there? I understand that unless something had changed between now, there still is in fact only a single human being who does bear the title of the, well, educator or mentor, whatever you'd like to call him, but it's only one and he's dealing with a lot. Is that still the case? And basically, what am I to do? Just wait?
Yes, unfortunately, that is the case. And I'm hoping the people who are taking it now are working really hard at it so they can also give the course. Because to me, that's the most important educational course that we have. And it can branch out into many different things. The people who take that course can then have the ability to work in several areas that we need, developing education courses and other things. But I would say check with Theo again, so he understands that you really have a desire to do it. And I don't know how much Theo can take on, how many people he can take on. He's an airline pilot for the main airlines in Dubai, the biggest airlines in Dubai, and he has a family and there's a lot of demand, but this is extremely important to him. So he's taken on a lot. So I don't have any problems with you bugging him.
All right. Well, just so it's understood, that's exactly why. You see, I understood that essentially there's a whole lot of background that I don't even know behind the scenes. And the behind the scenes, even the bit you did give me now, obviously, that's why I even asked, because, just not to, I don't know what, put salt on the wound, so to speak, because already overloaded.
Sure. And I guess a lot of people, I know I've heard that from somebody else who just came here. Actually, the day after Jacque died, I had an interview for a blog, and he too has, been studying the Venus Project on his own for many years and met Jacque a long time ago and signed up for the course, and he didn't know what to do either because he didn't hear anything. So maybe we should announce, what's going on with that. We could try.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Theo.
Okay. Would I be taken over if I asked a related question to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to everybody else who's still in the queue, so to speak, a queue. Well, Roxanne, the way you spoke about that course, you make it sound really rather paramount to putting forward, well, not only volunteers with capabilities to further other volunteers, but also the idea that sort of like a cybernetics principle, that everything is interconnected with everything else. Were you the overseer, or was Jacque/you overseers of the proposal for this education program?
No, this course started, I guess Phil started a while ago. I don't know how successful he was with giving it to several people. And he gave it to Theo as well. And then when Phil left, Theo took it over.
Okay, so...
And he's going through all of the materials that we have with people. He's done a lot of writing and preparation for it, so that when people first start giving the course to other people, he has a lot of writing so that they're not left in the lurch. He has some direction in writing in many different ways. So this we've been kind of going over together as well. He's not just giving it without me understanding what he's doing either.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, Julio, I think if I've gone far enough back, I think, Julio, you're next for the question.
Okay, thanks, Roxanne. Would it be all right to ask you how the 5013C is coming along, or is there any update about that?
The 501c3, we have to do a website. I designed the website. It's going to be very visual. We're going to have a small, we have many little small videos. Actually, a lot of them are taken from The Choice Is Ours on the pages. So there's a lot of pictures. There's an animation on the top of the page. It's pretty much designed, but the person who is laying it out is also going to school. So, you know, because all of this is volunteer, it is slower. He's got the first page laid out, but then he's off after about a week. So he's going to work on it more. Once the first page is really finalized, we're going to start to, there's a lot more, the web team has increased and we have a lot more people working on it. You know, it was Bo pretty much alone, and he put a call out that he needed help. And he's been giving different people different tasks, and I guess slowly building up those who are confident and consistent. So once we have the first page really finalized in the website, we're going to assign different pages to other people so that we have a certain format and a formula for it. But we have to have a website and an email. The email is simple, but we have to have a website as part of the application that I have to put in the state of Florida before we can collect any money for a nonprofit cause. So this is the holdup right now, but it is underway.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Julio. I think Amanda is next. You have a question? Oh, so it's already written here. Amanda's wondering if the series is going to be an educational series or if it's going to have a storyline plot to it.
Both. Yeah. Yeah, it would definitely be an educational series. We're not interested in stories, or it won't have any violence in it for titillation. We don't want to perpetuate the negative aspects of this culture, and that's what happens. You reinforce them with every movie or TV series that has violence and suspense in that way. And so we are taking a different route, which is more complex and more difficult to kind of sell, but we are wrapping it around a story as well, which would help it in terms, you know, because it's not just a documentary.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for the question.
Yeah, thanks.
Then somebody Ray says simple question, perhaps with a complex response. What is needed most from the POCs at this juncture? Maybe before I set up Roxanne a little bit, and then she can maybe put in a word afterwards. One of the things that we've tried to make clear, especially in the last year and a half, I guess, is that the POCs, we are not really educators. So we haven't, what we've done so far has been definitely better than what we've started off with, but it is not enough for us, any of us, to consider ourselves educators. So what we're trying to do here is kind of a middle ground between somebody that, you know, supports us in some kind of capacity of sharing stuff on social media and whatnot, to somebody that is actually able to, you know, organize some things with boots on the ground, quote unquote, and basically it's an organizational role, and I think that's kind of this in between, going from a basic orientation to what we've done here, which is a, you know, point of contact orientation, as we call it, which is about 5 months, and then to what Roxanne alluded to before, which is the whole course, socio-cyberneering course, and for now, that's how things are going to be. So we're going to continue to have this supporting role. As far as where to go from here, I think Roxanne will probably can just repeat what she said before. It's definitely up to us to try and educate ourselves better for the people that can go through the course, like Ludus said, and like I'm going through right now, and Sue, that we should try to do that, and of course do what we've been doing up to now, try to be as active as possible. I don't know if Roxanne has.
No, I guess you stated it pretty well, but I was just going to keep it short and sweet and just say learn as much as you can about the Venus Project through our materials, everything we have online, and try and talk to others. It's a lifelong educational process to learn how to get to different people. And don't beat yourself up if you can't get to certain people. Just maybe try a different approach. Or some people are, as Jacque always says, 20-year projects, if you've ever heard him say that. So, and then just try and introduce this in any way you can, the way you've been doing. A lot of people are doing it through different things, festivals, more than I, art exhibits, lectures, TEDx talks, just any way you can organize, just help spread the word. I don't know if you've heard Jacque say this, or me say this, but when I first met Jacque, he would always say that when you approach somebody, and you can see it in his old lectures because he does do this, ask them what's your favorite books, just try and understand what their values are. What's your favorite movie? If you who do you admire the most? And if they say something like or books, movies, and then he'd also say, if you'd had millions and millions of dollars, what would you do? And if they say, I'd buy hotels and get casinos, or who I admire the most is One Punch Malone. He knocked somebody out in one punch. That's like a 15 to 20-year project. Get off. There are a lot of people out there who are halfway there and are really interested and would appreciate hearing from you and your value system. And just remember the way you were when you first heard about this. A lot of people read 20 books, 30 books, 15 books, and you approach somebody and you approach them with the knowledge of the 20th book, and they haven't even read the first book yet. So kind of be patient with them and just kind of feed them just little tools, little by little, unless you find somebody who's really hungry for it and who can listen to you.
I think there was one more question. Just a second. Series. So we all. Oh, Bobby says he has a technical question regarding funding. Go ahead, Bobby.
Hey, so I have another question for Roxanne. Now, in terms of project funding, are you taking advantage of Florida state or federal fundings as far as grants?
That's one thing we want to do, is get grant writers. I'm not a grant writer. We need to get that at a certain stage, but we can't do that until we have the application and the approval of the application to be able to raise funds philanthropically through a nonprofit organization. And we're working just, step by step. The next step is the website, because we need that for the application. But that is something we want to do, most definitely. We probably will put a call out for grant writers at that time.
Yeah. All right, and then we got another one from Ludus.
Well, this
Ludus is gonna take you for everything that you got, Roxanne. Yeah, go ahead.
It's actually a bit of a nice branching out of the whole educational topic or state of, questioning. Regarding the book list right now, recommended book reading list, which exists on the official TVP website, Is there any planned additions in the future, or is it, in fact, can you confirm this is the entirety of what exists on Fresco's bookshelf?
Oh, no. Jacque has hundreds of books, but many of them people send him about metaphysics and things like that, spiritualism. But no, nothing is final like that. Everything's changing and growing, and there'll be new books out that probably Jacque would have liked. I don't know. And so if you happen to run across one that you think is interesting along this direction, send the information. But you know, a lot of the books on the book list, it was funny because a lot of the books are older books, and we read them over. You know, at the end, I would read to Jacque a lot, and a lot of the older books, or not a lot of them, but sometimes the older books, after I read them, we took them off the book list. So that's changing. And sometimes the books on the book list, for those who don't have a good grasp of this direction or of the basis of this direction, they're just a lot of times there are little bits and pieces in the books that Jacque drew from or identified with. And it might not always be the entire book. So if somebody has a good basis of the Venus Project, you can see that in the book. You might know what was significant. So don't worry if you're reading the book, some of the books, and they just seem laborious, or you know, but there are gems throughout. You know, even his book, he was a co-author of Looking Forward, and he wanted to take that book off the book list at one time, but we didn't. There was too many good things in it. You know, there's not, the only thing I see pretty consistent all the way through, and some of the things are outdated, very little, and is in Jacque's book. He's really the only one that has taken from many different disciplines and put things together. And there's no sunny day in May in Jacque's book, if you know what that story came from. If not, I'll tell you. But so, you know, the book list will probably change and grow. And I was starting to say about Future by Design, I mean, Looking Forward, his book, Looking Forward. What he did with Kenneth Keyes, who was into conventional psychology that Jacque dismissed as he learned more. And, but that book, Kenneth Keyes used to come to Jacque's lectures, and he said, you know, why don't we do a book together? And Jacque wrote down a lot about what the future would be like and gave it to Ken, and Ken wrapped it around a story. And as you learn more about the Venus Project and you read that book, you can almost pick out what's Jacque and what's Ken in terms of behaviorism and many other things. Kenneth Keyes was a huge romanticist. But there's a lot of good things in Looking Forward as well. But just like a lot of the other things on the book list, not the entire book.
Understood. Thanks.
Joe has a question. What is the current status of TVP tours? What we're going to do in the future?
Same thing we've been doing in the past. I have been giving the tours. Jacque, I think at the end Jacque lived for the tours, but the dementia got worse, and it swayed back and forth. Sometimes he was really great during the tours. I mean, not like he was. I still really carried them, but and sometimes, you know, it got really difficult. Like the last one, I thought, I don't know how much longer. I always kind of thought, I don't know how much longer we could do that. But the people who came were so grateful. They learned a lot. It helped them put it together. They were so grateful to see the just enormous amount of work that Jacque did that we have on display in the buildings and everything. The tours won't change. They'll be going on like they were even before Jacque died, because I essentially was giving them, and they'll continue. And I don't know if that will have some people not come, but so far, and we have to write to all those people. Yeah, we canceled last week. That was the first time we even canceled. You know, even if there's one person that comes, Jacque never stopped, as was mentioned earlier. But it was rare that it was only one person. But In the summers, it got less. In the winters, there's more because more people came down to visit families and friends and things like that. But no, there'll be nothing different with the tours.
Well, Roxanne, I don't know. Ludus can go on for a while. I know. I've talked to him before. I know this guy. But I'm just saying it's up to you when you've had enough. But this is kind of what the meeting was about. So we didn't really have an agenda.
Okay.
We just said, okay, we're going to talk about things. Having you here, you can answer questions, but anytime you want, you can walk out. All right, Ludus, go ahead.
Thank you. And yeah, honestly, so long as it's clear, I don't mean to be a pest. I genuinely do care a lot, and I just want to get it out of the, so to speak, horse's mouth. It just happens to be present, and it's very useful. With that said, is there anybody at the moment that you know of or you heard that is working on I'm not sure, what is the area of the book in the back, which basically, references and bibliography, etc., like an edition for maybe possibly the next edition of the Best That Money Can't Buy? Is there such a thing in motion?
I think you're talking about maybe somebody that would find references and things like that. Is that what you mean?
No, Jacque didn't want that, actually.
Really?
When he talked, no, he didn't do it that way. He, a lot of the work in that book was from Jacque's work. And when he referenced people, he referenced them within the book. So this is, we'll probably print it again because we're running low. Yeah. But that book won't be changed. The pictures, sometimes people said, well, we want to update the pictures. No, it was done in 2002. It doesn't make sense to update the pictures. There weren't even, I don't even think there was computer animation like that at that time. So one of the projects I have been wanting to do, and kind of Nate has been initiating it too, talking about it, is a black and white book of his sketches, and not all the sketches. We have 5,500 of them, so a little over that. So I was thinking of doing that because it probably wouldn't be as expensive as doing another book, and we can put it together with some text as well.
Maybe just to add here, maybe this is something that could be done as an additional, like I don't know, if like an outside of the book thing. Where it would be more along the lines of an article, maybe that would just be there to
a lot of the references that people do in books is because they take it from other people.
Yeah.
The book was really Jacque's findings and his work, and he did reference other people when he. Within the book, but Jacque, and we went over this many times because Peter made a big issue of this, and then I think he made an issue of it to try and degrade it or put it down. And when Peter did his book, he had thousands of references because Peter never did the work. He took it from other people's writings and books, and you do that, but I would say Jacque really did the work to arrive at those things. I think the only thing I've seen in that book that Jacque didn't reference was a quote, kind of alluding to a quote that what was his name? He was a futurist. Arthur C. Clarke did. And it was something like, if there were a war between machine and men, you can be assured as to who would start it. I think that's the only reference that wasn't given, but the rest was pretty much from Jacque's lectures over the years and his things, and and it's something he was not interested. He was not academic that way, not because he was trying to pull it off as just his own, because as I said, he did reference people in it, but he did the work.
I think that more. From my point of view, I did think about this some time ago too, and I've I guess for me the conclusion was that what what you're trying, or what you were suggesting, is something that would be just relevant in general for the whole project, not necessarily directly pertaining to the book, because like Roxanne said, the format of the book isn't really that way. It's not really something that that Jacque formatted that
So
way.
sorry, so may I clarify then?
Yeah.
Because see, the thing is, Roxanne, by the way, very cool of you to actually reference Peter's gripe, so to speak. I literally remember the interview where he referred to that. God, I love Jacque, but not a single reference in his book, which is obviously, as you now laid out, and as all of us, or any of us who have read The Best That Money Can Buy, know that that is incorrect. However, what I'm simply stating is almost like, although yes, you're accurate in saying maybe it's not towards academics, it's really any human being who's interested in changing this in really outdated social and economic system. However, it's almost like you would make it easier because you would use, it's like when Fresco says that you approach people, you try to talk to them with their own background. So I think I'm transferring that type of thought to this particular layout of the book. A lot of people, well, let's say they are in fact academics, they're used to seeing, oh, that's the number, that's what it refers to. Now I know that this and this means that that's where the context is and where the book was from, or what have you. It's just really that's to make it easier for the other people, almost like play to their values, at least to that extent.
I wouldn't, Jacque was aware of that. He was aware of the complaints with that. He really didn't have much respect for academia. If you read more, I think I don't even know if we put that question and answer on that. He really didn't. They never came up with answers, he felt. He did not have respect to them, and he never really catered to them. So I know Jacque was not interested in doing that. So I wouldn't want to do that to his work. If you want to make, if there's some references you feel should be, people should know about in regards to this, then maybe we can put it on the book list. There's tons of books on the book list that he referred to, but I don't want to do that at this point to his book, because he was aware of that.
Well, I look at this more from just gathering relevant information, and again, like we mentioned before, I don't think it's appropriate. Maybe I don't think it's an appropriate location to put that in the book. But I think one of the, let's say, things that people have grievances with along the lines of what we mentioned is that Jacque didn't really wrote a lot of things down. He wasn't really, he was he kind of went and gone through his understanding from one project to another and accumulated all this information, but he didn't do peer-reviewed articles like you said. He didn't have that. He didn't felt that was important.
And he was not accepted in that field. He just was not. He didn't have a college degree. He didn't have credentials. He had to work his way up to, and he had to wait until the culture caught up with him. So, I'm not interested in catering to it.
That's fair. So long as it's understood that my comment isn't at all in any way meant to, I don't know, somehow attack,
No, I understand that, but it's something I'm just saying I can't do. And if you want to make references to this where you think people would need that more so, is put it on the book list. And there needs to be a lot of books on the book list to further Jacque's work in all fields. He never denied that.
Yeah, we got a few more here, and some of them are repetitive. I think we already mentioned, so we'll try and just go with the ones that we haven't. What about the ebook version? Is Anna's asking. She says we have it now in a few more languages. would be great to publish them online. So it would be the way that we were talking about it is that the different ebooks, even though they're in different languages, they would be available on the main website.
I would like them there.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes my requests on, we like I said, you know, everybody works with volunteers, and we already have that request on our Trello board. And I don't know if everybody can see the Trello boards. I don't know how they're set up yet. I know we want to eventually set them up so everybody can see the different groups' Trello boards. But that request is on there to get all the ebooks in different languages on our site. Of course, we'd have to put them in the format. I don't know exactly how that is. But we do have another company that we have been giving the ebooks to, and they have been putting them out on, you know, Kindle and other places, and we pay them a percentage.
Yeah. There's a question here about the major motion picture, but we already went through that, so that's going to be in the recording. Since we got so many questions. Yeah, that's what I said before. And then Julio is asking you, Roxanne, if you've tried to reach out to Abby Martin about Jacque's death, and maybe she would want to do something to, you know, some kind of honor the project or whatnot.
No, I haven't. I've been sending the announcement to a lot of people that I know, but I hadn't even thought of her.
Yes.
Yeah. So perhaps I will. We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Martin had a lot of opportunity to do something on Jacque and the Venus Project, and she never really followed through. We've talked about it many times with her, but as of yet, she hasn't followed through. And even when Jacque was alive, it didn't work out sometimes. We didn't have the money. I even told her I would pay her way out here when she was in California, but she just kind of put it off and said she'll wait till she gets funding from the company that she was working for, but it just never came about.
All right. So I think that's. Oops. What am I doing? Oh, I see. Let's see if we have anything. If we have anything else. Which one?
Did you want to go?
No, that we already went through those.
Oh, on the top? Or is this
Which
the
one?
bottom? Is this the top?
Oh no,
Where's
we're
the
going
top?
down. Yeah.
Okay.
We've already tackled this. Question. Bobby says he has a question about the old books and socio-cyberneering. So Bobby, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, a lot of questions going on today. I have something on the old social cyberneering material. I couldn't find that online, but so if it's somewhere out there, I think it'll be very helpful to people who haven't gone through the SCP yet to kind of get a head start. In addition to that, I also have a question about would it be possible to have an actual avenue for members who want to put their own literature up, sort of like a TVP journal, by which people can those who have time and the know-how can actually develop their own studies and put it up for, future reference?
We did try and do a blog, but we really didn't have enough people with the skills or the background to put up articles. Just a few of them came up. So we turned the blog into latest news. In terms of the in terms of a TVP journal, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe on the support pages. Or...
Well, I mean, the problem with, let's say, with content that is produced by supporters is that it would also have to go through a process to see if that is relevant enough to be posted on the website. That's really what we would ultimately be looking for. Like Roxanne said before, that was one of the efforts that we tried to do to have done. Unfortunately, we don't have the manpower to apply that at this time, but that doesn't mean that we wouldn't still want to get back to it. But it would mean that there would be somebody who would coordinate that and give input to people's articles and see if they need to be adjusted for context and for grammar and things like that. So that procedure would have to be followed before it would be posted or published on the website. As far as some kind of a supportive supportive journal, it depends on what kind of a format that would be exactly. There's some options of just posting it on support groups that we have or whatnot.
It might be good on a support group because that would help other people who are coming in and learning about it and seeing other people's experience. That might be good.
Yeah.
And there was another question with that. If you go through the socio-cyberneering education project too, I don't know if it still is, it was part of the requirement of the course is to write a couple articles as well. But in terms of the old book, socio-cyberneering, I think there was one that we may publish, but we took all those books and we put them into the best that money can't buy, and of course it was edited a lot. But so most of the things that were in the old books, except for one of them, I think that might be new. We're going to look at that again. Is in the best that money can't buy, and the best that money can't buy really came from a lot of Jacque's lectures. He gave lectures for years and years and years, 3 days a week. So I wouldn't say a good deal of it. I mean, there are 600 hours, and not that many hours if you read the book out loud. But it came from the lectures as well.
There's a question for
saying I can handle the formatting of such. I need to get images.
That's for the ebooks.
Ray.
Exactly.
And I know I need to get you the pictures, Ray. That was the next on my list. But there's so many emails I've been answering.
Yeah, Roxanne's a slacker.
Come on, pick it up. We got to row faster.
I'm really behind on the pictures, and it weighs on me, but I haven't forgotten.
All right, there's another question here from Clifton saying that with, let me get back to see if we can read that out. With Jacque gone now and Roxanne being the director, is there a succession plan for who will direct TVP if something were to happen to you, Roxanne? I think it was before, so I guess it still is.
Well,
no.
We
paperwork needs to be adjusted probably now with all that's happened.
Well, that's just for the Venus project. I mean, we don't have paperwork for that. I mean, the best that money can. Resource-based economy. We have to take Jacque's name off that. Oh no. I'll come back. I'll be back. I'll be there soon. Okay, I'll be right there. I'm being called.
No hurry. I mean, I can do it.
I'll take a look. Yeah, I do. I'll come back with you. Let's see. What was the last question? Oh, my successor. Well, we just got rid of it for bacon, right? Well, I don't know. I haven't thought about that yet, but we do have people that work directly with me that I'm sure could come in and handle many things. But give me a while first before I get picked off.
You take your time, Roxanne, okay?
Give me a little bit to organize that.
How about if we just take
Mack truck?
How about if we just take Jacque's advice and we'll put bumpers all the way around her?
Yeah. We're going to form a protective circle around Roxanne so that 6 people are with her any time that she makes a move.
And then we'll put those 6 people in charge. And
Yeah, there's well, overall, I'm sure Roxanne is going to have some work with that kind of paperwork and different kind of paperwork for the next couple of weeks. So I'm sure things are going to be brought up like that.
Yeah, it's really weird because since we started this, me and Jacque, and 41 years ago, we started the Venus Project here. We kept willing the place to people, and then they left, and we kept changing the will, and then they left, and we kept changing the will again. So I guess I want to make sure a lot of things are secure. Costly changing the will all the time.
Yeah. There's another one quick question here. Is there an intention to update the cover of The Best That Money Can Buy for the next edition?
No.
Not for the immediate
No.
next edition, probably. No.
I think we'll probably keep that as it is, that book. That was kind of traditionally Jacque's book and his agreement for covers and things. And when we do another one, we'll change it.
Yeah.
And the black and white sketchbook, it'll be different.
We were also talking, just like a suggestion or throwing things around, of maybe having actually two versions of the book eventually, having one that's
Well, the only
that's a
two
memorial,
versions, yeah,
I guess, or
right, but they
something
would
like
stay
that.
the same.
But they would stay, the information would stay the same.
And the
but
pictures
perhaps
would stay the
yeah.
same. Yeah, we were just talking about making a smaller version as well, because it's easier for people to put it in backpacks or whatever.
Yeah.
And carry it around with them. And I did mention that to Jacque, but he liked the bigger version, so we'll try and keep both.
Yeah. All right. Well, Roxanne is probably going to run along so that she can go with Joel. And I thought that's if there's anyone else, you got alligator for protection. I think that's a good point from Anna. And Ludus, come on, one more. Okay, I'll give you one more.
I appreciate that a lot. It's just, do you, Roxanne, or Sasha, or maybe even Ray, anybody, what was the main, or what were some of the main changes to the 7th edition as opposed to the 6th?
Grammatical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just grammatical differences.
But Ray can answer that better. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's certain clarifications that, Ray would write and say, does this mean this or this?
Yeah.
And I've got a whole lot more that at some point you and I need to go over. But to directly answer Leotis, I think the biggest change was that we came across a quote that turned out to not be so verifiable. So Roxanne and I worked to slip in a replacement quote, and that kind of prompted us to move a couple of paragraphs around. Now that's just one of the changes, and there was probably some 30 changes between the two editions. That was one of the non-typical ones. That's one where some major surgery had to take place. The others, like Roxanne said, is mostly okay. Well, they're missing a period or comma here, or the spelling was wrong on something. We found a whole bunch of little things that needed to be cleaned up. But what I just mentioned, Roxanne and I do need to go over another round, if you will, of things that will probably be adjusted further for the 8th edition.
Thank you.
Ray, sounds good.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Roxanne, for being here with us. Thank you for your time. It was great having you around.
Okay. Thank everybody. Thank you for what you're doing. It's just wonderful.
Roxanne.
Very grateful for what everybody's
Roxanne.
doing. Yes,
Roxanne, before you go, I'd wanted to mention this at the start of the recording, but the things turned out as they turned out. But let me say it now. We've not just been the POCs this evening in here. We've also got some of the candidates for the new orientation process. So I think it's been a very special meeting for them in many ways. Thank you very, very much for being with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. It was a real pleasure, really.
Well, we're gonna stick around if anybody else has any questions. I'm gonna still be here for a while, but we're gonna let Roxanne go.
Okay,
Bye,
bye.
Roxanne. Thanks, Roxanne.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, Rox.
Thank you for everything.